To the second Dean Symposium this year. I'm Devora Curtis, Dean of the College of Integrative Medicine and Health Sciences, and I'm joined by Dr. Charlotte Hamilton, Dean of the College of Social Sciences and Associate Dean of Social Sciences, Dr. Christine Poindexter Harris, and our teaching assistant, MBM doctoral student, April Andrews. So representing the excellent scholarship across Saybrook University, Dr. Hamilton and I are featuring graduates and students to present their research and professional work 4 times throughout the year. And this afternoon, we're happy to welcome Dr. Susan McCollum to present her dissertation research. We are recording the session, and if you have questions throughout the presentation, please type them in the chat box and we will facilitate the discussion. And we're expecting about a 30-minute presentation, and we'll have about 10 to 15 minutes following for questions. So I'll invite Dr. Hamilton to formally introduce Dr. McCollum.
Thank you so much, Dean Devi. I do appreciate that. We welcome everyone again, and we thank you all for being here. And it is a pleasure to introduce Dr. Susie Fisher McCollum. I've had the pleasure of sitting on her dissertation a few years ago when she was in the business administration program and finished with her PhD in organizational systems in 2024. So we're really proud of her and the work that she's done. Even through the transition of the department, she was steadfast and committed and never took her eye off the prize of gaining and achieving her PhD. She has a wonderful background in Hollywood and just overseas and international work. And so we'll hear from her and listen to her journey and her research. That is just truly, truly fabulous. So with that, I will invite Dr. McCollum to present to us, her research and her dissertation. Thank you, Dr. McCollum.
Thank you, Dean Hamilton. It's always a pleasure to see you. Everybody can hear me okay? Okay. I'll just tell a little bit about myself, just as you mentioned. My work in Hollywood was basically behind the screen. As an artist, I started painting when I was 9 years old, so I've always leaned into the art world and worked for galleries. And I ended up, while I was living in Los Angeles, working for the art department. I worked for shows like Pee-wee's Playhouse when it first began. And I did a lot of MTV videos, including David Bowie and Tom Tom Club. And I just had this really, really kind of like a charmed time at this time in my early 20s, you could say. And then I went on to be, I've always also was into dance, and I was a failed ballet dancer. So I became a much more successful flamenco dancer. And so I did belong to a troupe, and we did travel overseas. And I did actually spend a little time in Japan. And I danced over there, especially during the Barcelona Olympics in 1993. And then as time went on, I actually did have some, I would say, some conflicts and challenges in my life where I was divorced and I had a kid, and I decided, what should I do? And I decided, well, maybe it's time to go back to school. And so, and I started very, very, at the very bottom, going to community college. And I moved all the way up until I finally ended up at Saybrook University. And so with much gratitude, I'm here. So with that, I'd like to get started on my Barbie study. I am very much into popular culture. All of my theses have been on mostly horror shows and horror movies, but I decided to pick up this doll, Barbie, and we'll discuss a little bit more about her. All right, so let's go. So first on the agenda is a summary of why Barbie is significant, and a brief overview of my research methods and framework systems that guided the research. The three first items will serve to solidify why Barbie is significant for my dissertation topic. I will cover the history and controversies of Barbie as part of the research and the concepts that were gleaned from the study. So Barbie was designed as a fashion doll for children to engage in a fantasy adult world. The design was calculated to persuade young consumers to acquire and collect pretty friends via Barbie dolls and to gain parental approval by associating beauty ideals with good behavior and wholesome traits as part of the Barbie brand. The fashionable doll would flourish to adults as Barbie consumers, and Barbie would become more than just a doll. She's recognized in American households. Barbie is a billion-dollar global enterprise with powerhouse marketing partnerships in artificial intelligence. So when I was recruiting professors, for this Barbie study, I would receive negative backlash, sometimes emotional reactions, and I was questioned if Barbie was even worthy as an academic topic for research. And this response to Barbie confirmed my own belief that I had stumbled onto something underrated and overlooked. And because Barbie really does have a place in academia, whether you like the doll or not. So my first intention was to bring my heart to the research as a signature of warmth and lead with academic complexity to ensure academic validation. So let's take a look at some of the research methods that were involved. So if you look at the bottom left, those are my first two prototypes that would become the heart template for an interview guide at top left. And the bottom image describes the 7 participants in the study. And because I'm from Northern California, these were mostly Northern California professors who had some affiliation with the Women and Gender Studies department. Each participant received 4 identical Barbie dolls. So if you look on your, on your right side, you'll see them. And I actually have them with me here. And I will be happy to show you, when I see you in person, the 4 Barbies that I had sent out. And 1 custom Barbie that was based on the university profiles of the professors. At the left, the participants were ranked pre-selected themes by most important, with the option to add 2 themes personal to the participant. And this would follow PAR, a participant action research method that is described at the middle top of the slide. And this research design offers participants a level of personal direction and control while maintaining structure and continuity for a results-based qualitative study. Okay, so now let's look at Barbie's foundation, starting with theoretical frameworks. So I started with Griswold's cultural diamond. This was an approach of Barbie as a cultural object and how she operates in the social world. The relationship between creator and receiver is a collective process that is built on social meanings going viral to the point of entering into the circuit of human discourse and sustained by Barbie staying in vogue. The second theoretical framework was the socio-technical system. This system is an ethical organizational framework. The framework approaches relationships between technology and people to create balance. The social structure is beneficial in studying Barbie. And as you can see in the examples above, Barbie exists on many technical and social media platforms. And last but not least is the third theoretical framework that was used, and this is the feminist and gender political system. Feminism and gender on a psychological and political platform were examined in social media. We can analyze how these multidimensional levels work in affecting gender and gender perceptions through female archetypes, politics, media, and marketing. Okay, so let's turn our attention to Barbie. Okay, so Barbie presents a cycle. She is a social actor shaped by society. Barbie is persuasive technology designed by corporate interests. Barbie is a major enterprise determined by marketing and profit. Barbie functions as a cycle of influence and reflection, and this will be more apparent as we go through Barbie's journey. So what is Barbiecore? Barbiecore is an aesthetic, it's a lifestyle, it's a fanhood. Barbiecore is built on a feminine aesthetic and is marketed to attract women's purchasing preferences in advertising and social media. And at the core, the color pink is Barbiecore. So when introducing Barbie or any topic, it works to relate the research with people and at the same time taking the deep dive. And let's take a deep dive. So Mamie Eisenhower, see, she's my image on the left. She popularized the color pink during her time as First Lady, particularly through her iconic pink inaugural gown and the extensive pink decor at the White House, which led to the trend of Mamie Pink in American homes. And this association helped cement pink as a symbol of femininity in the 1950s. The color is often associated with pop culture icons like Paris Hilton, Britney Spears, and Nicki Minaj, who have embraced Barbiecore over the years. So before Barbie became a global icon, her earliest prototype was heavily influenced by the German doll Bild Lilly, a character originally created for a post-war adult comic strip in Germany. And unlike Barbie, Lilly was marketed solely for adults rather than children and carried associations with the lingering culture of post-World War II Germany, including connections to Nazism. Ironically, Ruth Handler, the daughter of Jewish refugees from Poland, encountered the doll during a trip to Europe and recognized the potential for adapting its mature appearance into a children's fashion doll. Ruth transformed the concept into Barbie, softening Lily's provocative image and repositioning the doll as a symbol of modern independence for young girls. Although Barbie evolved into a distinctly American cultural product, her origins still remain tied to the more controversial history of Bild Lilly and the complex social climate from which that doll emerged. Moving on to Barbie's historical journey, Barbie's image began as a fashion model. That's your upper left. Her ideal looks and independent position granted her high-status fantasy careers, including the male-dominant astronaut as early as 1965. In 1967, if you look on your right, the first Black Barbie doll, Francine, was introduced as Barbie's best friend. The short-lived Francine was replaced by the more sophisticated Christie as her own Barbie brand. Barbie's little sister, Skipper, also short-lived, had a significant role building the brand as the young and perky sunny California girl. And because of Mattel's Southern California location during the 1960s and 70s, this was at the peak of surf culture and that popularity. So Malibu Barbie, again, if you go to your left, you'll see on your upper left, Malibu Barbie would further doll's image with long blonde hair, blue eyes, and tan body. However, this image was unsustainable and it lost its appeal, being unattainable and unrelatable. In its place, princess culture, again, popularized in the 1990s, continues today. So Princess Barbie would become the most successful iteration that would expand to movies, Netflix shows, media events, and beauty pageants. So these are some of Barbie's various transformations. Gen Z Barbie on your left is represented with a curvy body and blue hair. Okay, next is Mattel's technical versions of Barbie, and these didn't actually work out that well. Starting with Teen Talk Barbie on your right, her blurb math class is tough. This reinforcing an unfortunate stereotype. Computer Engineer Barbie also didn't work out well, seeking help from male friends. And the highly controversial and discontinued AI Hello Barbie, who spoke 8,000 phrases, mostly about fashion and shopping, and also presented a big security risk. Since Barbie's debut in 1959, critics have argued that Barbie's body helped shape harmful expectations. One example came in 1965, when a version of Barbie was packaged with a tiny book titled How to Lose Weight, with the advice, don't eat, and a pink bathroom scale permanently fixed at 110 pounds. So the 1950s and 1960s emphasized rigid ideals of femininity, including thinness, flawless grooming, constant smiling, and social etiquette unrealistically, So Barbie is both a product of that culture and a powerful amplifier of it. These beauty ideals evolved into more invasive trends such as cosmetic surgery and a growing number of teens seeking cosmetic genital surgery, achieving a Barbie look through labiaplasty, creating a minimal appearance due to, again, unrealistic online beauty trends that have garnered much concern. So let's take a closer look at Barbie and some of the motivations that are working in the perceptions of her. The study revealed there was a love to hate Barbie bandwagon that has become a mainstream position. The participants in my study disliked Barbie overall, and they actually expressed enjoyment to the more progressive Barbies that complemented their profile. I mentioned that there was like a fifth Barbie. They very much enjoyed that Barbie. The preference of narratives suggested a desire to control Barbie instead of the blank slate that the doll supported to project personal fantasies upon. Mixed perceptions, seeing through the diverse Barbie versions, were met with skepticism. Pinkwashing as a form of social activism through purchasing power was frowned upon, and Mattel's ulterior motive to expand new markets in social and progressive causes is indicative to expanding to new generations and therefore expanding the company's pocketbook. So some of the concepts, whereas beauty privilege, of course, in the world of Barbie, beauty privilege is reflected through an image of pristine perfection, symmetrical features, idealized proportions, fashionable clothing, wealth, youth, and effortless success. The doll embodies a culture deeply tied to materialism, where identity and value are expressed through consumption, appearance, status symbol, and physical desirability. Barbie has been often criticized as a symbol of narcissistic culture, encouraging self-comparison and the pursuit of unattainable perfection. Her polished world suggests that beauty leads to popularity and social acceptance and power, and reinforcing the idea that attractive people are more worthy of admiration and opportunity. Beauty becomes both a commodity and a measure of self-worth. Perceptions of Barbie as a tool of soft power reflect their geopolitical implications of American imperialism. In the above examples, the artist Frida Kahlo depicted as Barbie is banned in Mexico as infringing or replacing the importance in Latin American heritage. The image in the middle, however, shows a Peruvian protester using Barbie to criticize the Peruvian president. Pinkwashing. Pinkwashing is a term to describe the commodification of feminism and social justice issues for profit. Now, there were some exceptions in my study. that argued that even if Mattel is doing diversity for all the wrong reasons, it's still good because they are still changing minds. So I feel like even though they're on this right track, it was fine. And then last but not least is media literacy, probably one of the most important concept that actually was gleaned from my study. So in popular culture, in media is where Barbie resides. And the study concluded in addressing the importance of media literacy as a place where self-identity was being curated through technology, that media literacy was very necessary in early education. It was a necessary tool for young minds to navigate through misinformation, unrealistic marketing trends, and a heads up to manufactured hype in popular culture. The strong appeal was by the time students get to college, they should have what is now a first or second year understanding of media. So speaking of media literacy, Mattel's current media campaign is You Can Be Anything, with a focus in a wide variety of careers in an attempt to rehabilitate the doll's brand. And Mattel's objective in their ongoing campaign is to gain a better relationship with their young users and the parents who buy Barbie. And there seems to be more focus in STEM. So some of the positive gender perceptions, like Dr. Jane Goodall, and we have an astronaut from Mexico, and from UK, another scientist, and then we also have the pro skateboarder, Sky Brown. This is just to name a few. So this is where my Barbie journey ends with some of Barbie's best iconic looks. In the first two images on the left are David Bowie and Jean-Michel Basquiat. And these are from my personal Barbie collection. Many of the world's greatest fashion designers and celebrities, Marilyn Monroe, Billie Holiday, and Frank Sinatra, just to name a few, have enjoyed celebrating image and fashion designs through the iconic Barbie. So here's some key insights. Never give up. Just don't. Have passion for the topic. However, I'd like to also mention that it's don't be a fan of the topic. I was a fan of Barbie until I was about 13, and then I got rid of her. So I really did enter this study with a very non-biased, approach, and but I was still passionate for popular culture. Bring your heart to the research. Be ready to be humbled. Preparation is your friend. Address your challenges as elegantly as possible. I can't say I did that, but I tried. And don't forget to have some fun. Okay, so what happened life after Barbie? So I actually suffered from major writing burnout. And I was really like, I never wanted to look at a computer. I wanted to throw it out the window. I never wanted to write again. And so that kind of bothered me. I'm a visual artist first, but I do enjoy writing. I cannot say I'm a great writer at any cost, but I'm going to say that I'm creative. I'm a creative writer. So I forced myself to write a screenplay within a year, and it's starting to pan out. I've got I got two screenwriting agents who are interested. I have to write two though. They want two under my belt, so I am writing another screenplay called American Girl Trouble, which is goes back to when I was growing up, my skateboarding days. I was in that culture. I was, living in LA. And so this is based on the Pink Helmet Posse. I don't know if anyone's heard of them, but they're three little girls who skateboard. And so I have a fictional screenplay that I'm working on right now. And I'll be going to Japan in October, where I will be meeting with the Yokohama Animation Laboratory for my Baba Yaga Saga screenplay. This is not what I really wanted. I wanted a live action movie, not an animation, but hey, you take what you can get. And also on the side, I've been working on a poetry book on my passion in perfume. And then on the bottom is my blacklight art. So I'm collaborating with my husband now. So he started painting, and I started to convert his work into black art. And it's also something that we are working on as a project. So I just want to thank again for all of you for attending my Barbie presentation. That's it.